Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentations. My name is Min Sung. I'm the Chief AI Scientist from App here. Today, I'm going to share about a summary about looking back what happened in the AI field in 2020 last year, and also in my prediction about how AI will be continue to develop and also used in industry in this year. So let's get started. A brief outline of today's talk will have basically two main parts. First is a quick look back of what happened last year. And then the second part will be my prediction about AI prediction this year. And this includes the first part, how AI will lead the AI application development. And also the second part, how important is the 5G investment in the future smart environment applications. And finally, I will put more efforts on predicting what AI can help in the digital marketing domain this year. So let's get started with looking back on last year. So we all know that COVID changed everything last year. We suddenly experienced the amount of 5 years of digital transformation in just 1 year last year. And that is due to COVID-19, such that consumers, teachers, doctors, and workers all spend more time online to collaborate. And at the same time, we are also very glad that a lot of technology, including AI, works together to fight against the spreading and the trouble caused by COVID-19, including a better tracking of the disease spreading, faster diagnosing systems, how to make the medical lab, hospital, nursing home, and factory smart and with less human intervention. So that makes contentless solution becomes the new normal economy. So think about more and more e-commerce happening online. People are using e-payments, food deliveries, playing more streaming games, moving learning to online learning, and also using e-healthcare to prevent visiting physical hospitals. A lot of meeting convert into e-meetings, and people are enjoying more video streaming services. So that actually give the new tech company a great advantage in this huge amount of digital transformations. Right? So if you ask me about what should we expect in this year, I would say that not only the tech company should be aware of the digital transformation, but every company this year, no matter if you think yourself as a digital company or not, should be considered and position yourself as a tech company this year. And because there will be much more data you can leverage if you position yourself in this way, and then you can apply AI to gain more insight from those data. Right. Now, going back to the AI technology development itself, I'm very happy to share that even under COVID, AI breakthrough continues. And the reason is because we are collecting a lot of data online, so COVID actually accelerated the data collection process. And in many AI applications, we need to have human label the ground truth for training a model, and this could be totally done in an online fashion, so it's no problem. And we are also be able to train bigger and bigger model to achieve better and better performance, and this completely can be done in a cloud computing environment. So the great news is breakthrough are achieved continuously, and I'm going to share some of the breakthrough that achieving separate modality in the next few slides. So first is in the image recognition modality. So here's a simple self-supervised model called SimCLR, which use a very few or even no supervised label to match the performance of supervised learning method in a ResNet 50 architectures and in the ImageNet challenge. Right. So how do they be able to train the model without ground truth label? The trick is they're using those unlabeled images, such as the dog and the chair, and generate different crops and different color transformation of those images. And they're using the fact that these two augmented data generated from the same image should look similar, whereas data generated from different examples should look different. And using this kind of very weak training signal, they could train this model in a self-supervised way and use very few labeled data to fine-tune the model and reach the same performance as a fully supervised training model. And you can see here's the performance plot, and the red point shows the self-supervised learning method, and they could reach the supervised training accuracy as shown on the y-axis. The other modality I want to change our attention to natural language processing. So the breakthrough happened last year is researcher has created a significant larger language model called GPT-3, which is in estimation trained using 5 to 10 million US dollar just to train this huge big model. But the performance for transforming this model into all kinds of natural language processing tasks is phenomenal. And that's why it wins the Best Paper Award in the top AI conference New York last year. And just to show you how significant bigger this model in terms of the number of parameters compared to all the previously introduced language model, you can see that GPT-3 really is the only model last year exceeds 100 billion parameters and significantly larger than all the other competitors. All right. So next, I wanted to change gears into a quite different modality, which is in the biomedical domain, and the problem is called protein folding. So you might feel like this is a very different problems compared to natural language processing, but in fact, this is a great example that problems in different domains actually share very similar structures. So in protein folding problems, the problem definition is researchers have defined different amino acid sequence mapped to different letters. And the sequence and order of all those letters or amino acid sequence will completely define the 3D structure and the property of a protein, right? And that converts the protein folding problem into sequence data modeling, which is very similar to modeling language data, right? So the goal here is how could we leverage existing natural language processing model to model the sequence of amino acids and predict the 3D structure of a protein as shown in here. And then we could predict the function of those proteins and use it for drug design or understanding disease or scientific discovery. Okay. So the breakthrough happened last year is the development of a model called AlphaFold 2. So it shows that it could predict the shape of the protein in 3D much more accurate than all the competing methods and actually much better than its previous version. And once we know the 3D, we can predict the function of this protein, and we can use it to pre-screen in the digital world what types of amino acid sequence might be useful to neutralize a certain disease and so on. So I think this breakthrough has a great potential to be used more in the biomedical domain, especially this year. So next, let's change gear to the AI prediction in this year, 2021. So my prediction is following the summary of last year. Natural language processing model will continue to be used more and more in the biomedical domains. And here's the early examples. In January this year, a researcher from Harvard already shows that they could actually train a language model to read the amino acid sequence of the protein spike on the coronavirus and predict what's the next possible mutation for coronavirus. And the prediction seems to be quite accurate. So they could help researchers in the biomedical domain to speed up the lab work to confirm and to spot new variants of those coronavirus. And in turns, if you can spot those mutations faster, you can also start working on the vaccine much faster. And this is continue leveraging the same neural network architecture for natural language processing to modeling biomedical sequence data. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, as I mentioned, the summary in last year, different models are trained in separate modality. One in language, one is image, one in amino acids modality. But this year, we started to see technology exists such that we can easily combine AI and make them collaborate across modality. So think about, we already have the ability to train huge language models, such as BERT or the GPT model that I described before. So this model alone could understand language and also generate language by itself. And we also can train a big image understanding and big image generation models such as BigGAN. We could understand the content and generate a plausible natural image similar to the training data. But previously, we are doing this separately, and each model might cost a huge amount of money to train. For example, GPT-3 costs 5 to 10 millions. So if you want to combine them and retrain the model, that will cost a lot. Okay, so there's a very interesting NIPS paper happening last year, shows that you could actually just learn a simple translator without touching the parameter of the big model. So you could translate the learned representation in one modality, which is in language, and know how to translate into the image modality. And then you can easily combine this model with very few training costs. And that basically frees up the opportunity that you could easily combine different and actually more than 2 big models across different modality. And in this example, one very interesting application is researcher can train the existing GPT-3 model to understand a language description combined with image generator to generate a cartoon-like image exactly following the description of the language as input. And combining the language and image generation model is much more cost-effective using this technology. So here's a link you could play along with these examples. They have more cool demo to show. And the other train I see will continue in 2021 is following the line of human-centered AI. For human-centered AI, there are several important technology directions. One is we want to be able to train AI with certain guarantees such that when human using those AI, you can use it in a safe way. And the second important thing is if humans are the end user using the AI, then how could we make AI explainable such that human can understand and start to learn the behavior of AI and have the right expectations? And eventually, is there any other way we could make AI interacting with human much more smoothly by changing the learn model or changing the interface? So these are the three directions which will continue to researchers to work on in 2021. And in particular, nowadays, we have seen much more AI deploy in the world. So it becomes much more important to learn from a few human feedbacks of those models served to each individual human users. So, so if we look back, how AI interact with real humans changed a lot. In the very early days when we were building expert system, we used to need AI developed to talk with domain experts, come up with rules, but the whole strategy doesn't work very well because rules are complicated and even sometimes incomplete after talking with domain experts. And then we move on into the data-driven way of using machine learning, and then we're using human to collect the data, but usually the annotated label for those data is not the end goal for this AI model. And so now that in 2021, we reach the time that a lot of AI model is deployed in the world using machine learning, but then needs to be fine-tuned in a gentle way to satisfy the need of each individual user. So technology in AI domain has been developed to how to learn from few human feedbacks. Those feedback could be scores such as they like this prediction, like this service to a certain level or not, or the feedback could be more detailed in describing what is the better result they like. So AI is in 2021, I predict to be able to learn from those few feedbacks as well as complicated language description feedbacks as we have the ability to combine model across different modalities. Okay. And the second trend I see is AI is running much more efficiently on more devices, such as on your wearable device or on stationary device, such as your door camera and so on. And we'd be able to do that is because researcher has explored the neural network architectures and figure out a way we could reach high accuracy using fewer operations and smaller model size, such that it could run on small devices with the same accuracy and longer battery life. And here's a very cool examples from a company in Japan. They are putting the capability of AI into children's glasses so they could detect if the child are watching TV too closely or having too much or longer screen time than expected and give warnings in real time. And also looking back, the Consumer Electronics show happened last year. We also see a lot of consumer electronics roll out to help preventing the spreading of COVID. So even our future masks will be smart to help us prevent COVID. And also there's a very interesting product demoed from a company from Japan, the Total company. They have shown that you could develop AI to analyze the contents you generate each day and to predict your health and well-beingness and become AI partner at your home. So with all those predictions, I think overall AI is going to be spreading more, not only in your handheld device, but spreading more use case in your home, in your hospital, in factories. So AI is going to be utilized in everywhere. And AI is going to be able to interact with humans much more naturally, not only just in the interface, but also through voice, through language, through our human activity behaviors naturally happen in our daily lives. And eventually, bigger topics emerge, which is called ambient intelligence. And in definition, ambient intelligence is discipline that bring intelligence to our everyday environment and make those environments sensitive to us. And I believe as AI is being applied in more devices and can interact with human more naturally, we can eventually reach the concept of ambient intelligence. And one quick area that people are pushing through ambient intelligence is in the hospital. Here's a research from Stanford showing that there are more and more AI control sensors put into the hospital and potentially can save lives if we build smart hospitals and also smart home or nursing homes. And this following a line of pushing through ambient intelligence for a particular application domain, which is healthcare. All right, so next, let's change gear to talk about digital transformation. How will they gonna drive more AI application this year? So first, we talk about the application that focusing on the users. For example, for digital marketing, fintech, and education, users are the key we want to serve in those domains. So for those domains, we see digital transformations continues to happen. Users are using much more internet and more mobile devices. So following the process in a lot of application, we have much more big data to do the analysis. And we also have the record of the digital behavior to figure out what are the process could be automated to provide service to our individual users. And finally, AI kick in also to achieve personalized optimization when providing service to each individual users. So this is the application domain focusing on the users. There are also application domains where user is not the main focus. For example, high-end farming, the focus is the produce, or smart factory, the focus is the products. Okay, and in those application domains, how to make environments smarter to collect more important data is become more important. So we see the trend of more sensors deployed in the factories, in the farmland, in smart cities, or more intelligent robots is there to act according to the sensor signals. So in those application domains, we see more investment in the infrastructure to make the environment smarter. And then we started to collect very useful big data to do the analysis and bring insights. And also, once we have the data, we can also identify a chance to make the process automated. And so this is quite different from the application domain where user is in the focus. And finally, there are a very interesting application domain, which is the healthcare or smart healthcare, where user and environments are both important. So in this domain, user data is already collected in many different places. For example, your electronic health records is collected by the hospital. And if you have conducted any medical images, then your data is also in the hospital. But we also started to see people are using wearable device to collect your health records in your daily life. So those data is actually not in the hospital. So if we talk about the user data, one thing we need to go through is how could we integrate all those separate data in a smooth and effective way. That will be important. There are also opportunity, as I mentioned before, that putting more sensors in the hospital, putting more robots in the nursing home or your home care facilities. And so I think smart healthcare is a special application domain where we need to continuously invest on integrating all those user data as well as pushing towards more investment in a smart environment. And eventually, I think in this domain is a good vertical domain we could push through towards ambient intelligence. So I talk about the smart environment a lot, and that actually brings us to my prediction that the 5G investment is also going to be more important to make our environments smart. So we know that 5G have three different advantages. One is quite obvious. We have greater bandwidth, so we can download big data faster. The other two are less well known. One is actually 5G could bring you lower latency. And also in a compact area, it could be connected to more devices. Okay. So what happened in last year is we observed a quick adaptation of using 5G on the mobile phone. And people are using 5G to watch the streaming video much more with a better user experiences, and also a lot of application that playing the cloud gaming platform such that you don't need to download a game and install it. You just play it instantly using 5G gaming streaming services. And I think there's much more to watch in 2021, and in particular related to the low latency and more connected device advantages. So I think in the factory and warehouse and hospital vertical domains, we're going to have more sensor, more device, and more robots invest in those environments. And if you wanted to connect all of them and to achieve some real-time applications, then investment in the 5G infrastructure in those verticals are also going to be very important, because 5G can give you low latency to support the real-time application, and we also need to collect a much more devices in a more compact physical space than before. Right. So finally, I wanted to talk about AI application in the digital marketing domains this year. The first thing I want to emphasize is AI is going to be more and more very critical to achieve optimal omni-channel marketing. So we know that due to COVID, people are spending much more time online. But the interesting thing is people are spending their time online in all kinds of channels. So no single channel dominate as users' time in the offline world, such as the offline TV. People are using a lot of different streaming services, different social media, website, different apps in a very different way. So how to allocate resource to target the right user through more and more channels becomes very, very important. And this is really complicated if you want to ask a human marketer to do the optimizations. Think about there are ways you can send push notifications, interact through instant messages, sending EDMs, and also there's all kinds of paid media. So my prediction is AI is going to be critical tools to help you to dynamically allocate the resource in the right ways. And also using AI, you could also automate the online, not only A/B tests, but also multivariant tests to select the best AI strategy for you automatically and in a continuous way. So another interesting prediction for this year is I think the technology is almost ready for AI to help generating advertisement creatives. So in the old days, creative is generated by human coming up with the slogans, the product images, and also human put into advertisement template and finally submitted to your advertisement channels such as Instagram or Facebook or elsewhere, right? But as I described before, technology we could use to generate language is nowadays ready, right? So we can actually leverage state-of-the-art natural language model to generate slogans that is combining popular keywords online in real time and also relevant to your product. And once we have those slogans ready, we could also leverage state-of-the-art image generator model to generate a relevant background image to combine with your product image. And then you have the input to all generated by AI to put into the advertising templates and then publish on your channel, right? And because AI don't need to sleep and AI could observe the online trend continuously, so it could use this method to generate a lot of different slogans and a lot of different related image contents. And this could really help marketers to try out different creatives in a much faster pace, and we could try and error and leave the most useful creatives continue to serve your campaign. Right. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for today. To summarize, today's takeaway is two-part. One is looking back of what happened last year. We have went through the amount of digital transformation in 5 years, but only using 1 year. And luckily, the amount of data and the way we could keep on developing AI algorithm online help us to make AI breakthrough continuous in separate modalities. And 2021 is also the year that people is starting to advocate the importance of going towards human-centered AI. And this year, 2021, people will continue to develop technology to support human-centered AI. And we are also seeing the technology ready to combine big model training separate modality in a cost-effective way. We are also seeing AI deployed in different devices everywhere. So eventually, I think 2021 is the beginning of we pushing towards ambient intelligence, and it will happen actually faster in the healthcare domain. And secondly, digital transformation will continue to speed and will drive more AI applications in different verticals. And as I mentioned, if it's a user focus or environment focus, they will have different steps. And finally, for digital marketing, omni-channel marketing online has become more and more important, and things are very complicated. So machine learning and AI can definitely work along with marketers to do a better jobs. And I predict 2021 is the beginning of more and more AI application could help generating created including slogans and images to help marketer to try and error about those creatives in a faster pace and reach better campaign performance. And that's it for today. Thank you very much.